Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Weinswig from the Fung Business Intelligence Center. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have retail expert Shelley Cohen. She has more than 25 years of experience in the retail industry. Her contributions across the industry include profit and sales improvement, applied big data in the brick and mortar environment, enhancing in-store shopping experiences. Shelley has worked at senior levels throughout the industry and across many functions, including general management, operations, merchandising, buying, and human resources. As VP of Retail Consulting for RetailNext, Shelley works with clients to achieve deeper insights through robust data analytics, resulting in optimized strategies to increase sales, reduce costs, benchmark performance, and better align resources to achieve key goals. Shelley is a featured spokesperson and retail expert. She has appeared in the NBC Nightly News, New York Times, Women's Wear Daily, Reuters, Fortune, Chain Store Age, Retail Information Systems, and other trade publications. She develops webinars and has been a speaker at various trade conferences. Shelley serves as assistant professor for the Fashion Institute of Technology of the State University of New York and the Fashion Business Management Program. So today she'll have a great deck from what I've seen and some prepared comments, and then I'll have a few questions for her, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. So with that, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Shelley. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. Let's talk about what's happening in the retail landscape today. On the agenda, we have looking at the retail calendar for starters, understanding the multi-channel shopping journey. We'll discuss some early strategies. We'll also share with you early results that RetailNext has posted. Then we'll end by going into some emerging trends as well as strategies into 2016. So to take a quick peek at the retail calendar as a starter, already obviously through both Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, and looking at the calendar going into the next 2 weeks, I think it's very relevant to note, obviously, with Christmas being on Friday, the 23rd and 24th become exceptionally critical and important. Also, the 26th, which is the after Christmas sale day, the 26th landing on a Saturday, will be what I call a mega shopping day. So let's take a look at what's been happening with some of these early holiday strategies. When we look at, going into the next slide there, when we look at the multi-channel shopping journey, the retail landscape provides continuous touch points across the brand. Where in the evolution does your customer become introduced to the brand? This becomes really important. Understanding the entry point allows for immediate and continuous communications to exist. These two-way conversations and ecosystems primed with interaction will breed loyalty and engagement with the brand. And this goes beyond the realm of multi-channels to convergence of experiences and touch points. Examples would include purchases, questions posed to help other customers, product feedback, personalized offers, promotions, surveys, and of course, customers' help in future product development. One of the key understandings as it relates to this holiday season, more so ever in the past, is the importance of these continuous touch points across the brand. These have impacted both the shopping online. They've had a significant impact on pricing and promotional strategies, as well as really trying to get that consistency of brand across every single touch point that today's shopper has access to. So let's see what happened in early holiday. Of course, early November, we saw a little bit of holiday creep. And I would say that this year, more so than last year, retailers had a more thoughtful promotional strategy. Retailers were less reactive and more proactive. And while we anticipated Thanksgiving to be a 5-day event, we were a bit surprised to find that this actually became a month-long event, starting with most retailers the first week of November and going well beyond Turkey Day itself. We saw mixed strategies on Thursdays and Friday, so whether stores were opened or closed. And I think, as we discussed in our new RetailNext series, 60 Seconds with Shelley, the key factor was going strong regardless of the decision made by the retailer. So, for example, if you're closing on Thursday, promoting this with employees and shoppers, that helps breed loyalty both with the internal team of the employees as well as the shoppers. At the same token, for stores that remained open for Thanksgiving, certainly having very relevant offerings and making the trip, quote unquote, worth it in the eyes of the shopper were key strategies. Going into the early holiday results, RetailNext provides a performance pulse, and this showed more positive trends than previous months. The results for physical retail are generally positive when considering the growing influence of digital shopping, some of which we just talked about with the multi-channel, particularly in the mobile channel. Over the holiday weekend, there were patterns of strong results for retailers with less effective digital channels. And of course, the reverse of that was also true. Those retailers that had very strong digital channels had performed less than the ones that actually have less effective digital channels. So looking at Thanksgiving and looking at November overall, what we saw with November is a decline in traffic of 5.6%, which is actually less than the previous trend from the months leading up to November, which is a positive. In addition, we saw conversion being flat. Weather played a double-edged sword in the Northeast with its warm weather bringing shoppers into the store, but at the same time, the warm weather also slowed down purchasing of some seasonal goods. ATV was up 3%, which is positive, 3.2% for the month of November, and really showing and proving that a more strategic pricing coupled with more loyal shoppers in the retail stores of their choice. Loyal customers spend more money and typically are less price sensitive. I think the biggest challenge, obviously, going into the next 2 weeks, it will be the warm weather and inventory turn, especially with those seasonal goods and merchandise. So going into talking about what's going to be happening next with some of our emergency trends. Just to take a quick look at some of the regional performances, and looking at that regional performance, what we saw was a very consistent sales drop in the brick and mortar environment, anywhere between 4 and 6.6%. We also saw traffic declines that were actually quite mixed between the West, the Midwest, the South, and the Northeast. The West really being the outlier with traffic down 3.5%. Conversion ranged typically from anywhere slightly above last year to about half a percentage point below last year. The one positive element across all regions was the average transaction value being up, which was a positive. Going into some of our emerging retail trends and looking at what's happening, some of the biggest trends that we're seeing is the shift from product driven to what I'm calling product plus. And product plus is really talking about having more than just a trade of price for product. So we have to, as retailers, really give something beyond just a product. Some of these examples would be Nike's done a really terrific job with selling not just some of the wearable technologies, but they're also beginning to create this ecosystem of being able to not only buy the product, but also buying more than just the product, but the experience. The second piece is the redefining of the retail calendar. We've seen this many times over the past year. It's really started last year with Thanksgiving. And what's happening is a lot of the customers today, the shoppers that are out there, are redefining how they plan to shop. And we've seen this with back to school. We've seen this with Labor Day. We saw this last year with Thanksgiving. These events are really becoming elongated, and there appears to be less of a sense of urgency with shoppers. Who knows, you might see something really interesting with Christmas this year with this whole new kind of casual outlook on events and formalities. Consumers may even celebrate Christmas on the 27th after the big after Christmas sales. But we have seen this kind of redefining and reshaping of the retail calendar. I think the next initiative and trend that we're seeing is proactive versus reactive promotional strategies. And obviously promotional and pricing strategies for the long haul really need to be put in place, and being very transparent with the pricing is critical. We found last year that reactive pricing tactics or tit-for-tat pricing is really unsustainable. So being very measured and carrying obviously differentiated product is absolutely key, especially going into this era of competitiveness that we have and this sameness of product. I think brands that can differentiate themselves either with product, experience, or loyalty are the ones that are going to emerge winners as we go into 2016. And number 4 is this community ecosystems that incubate customer loyalty. And this goes beyond the scope of just having, you know, product and services, but it's really a two-way conversation, a two-way communication. And the consumer and shopper really becomes part of that brand's community. And this can be done through, you know, continuous interaction through those multiple touch points. This, I think, is a very key trend going into next year. The last is the retail format redo, and we've seen this quite considerably over the last year, specifically with a lot of large format retailers going to smaller boxes. We have luxury retailers that are also looking at going into off-price or outlet businesses. We have department stores that have invested in specialty store formats. So I think that really understanding the retail format that will become the most profitable and really most relevant for that customer and that shopping experience is going to be key as we forge forward into 2016. Some of the strategies, and I've listed out, you know, 10 different strategies that I feel that will be very strong as we head into 2016. One is the experiential shopping initiative. So really having that experience coupled with that shopping environment is key. The second one, and I think this is one of the more prominent trends into 2016, is value-driven dominance. And that's really on a customer perspective, delivering a value product. And value, just to be super clear, doesn't necessarily mean cheap or inexpensive. Value means I am getting what I think is the right price for a product that's being delivered. So this value-driven dominance is really delivering product at a value in the eyes of the shopper. The third initiative or strategy for 2016 is standardized and personalized service, really focused on that in-store experience is key. Obviously, number 4, the convergence of digital and physical channels. And I think the key here is not just the convergence, because we've been talking omni-channel and convergence of digital and physical for several years, but I think what will be different for 2016 and a strategy that can be really implemented quite quickly is this real-time learnings applied. And what is meant by that is taking a learning that you have on your online site. So if you see a search, for example, for fringe skirts coming up significantly more in the past few weeks, is taking that trend of fringe skirts and then applying that to your brick and mortar environment, setting up a fringe shop, you know, pulling things forward, bringing it all together. And the same with the physical channels as well, is learning, you know, listening to that customer one-to-one in the stores and taking learnings from what's selling in stores or what customers are saying in stores, what the experience is in stores, and applying those also to the online business. The more that we can apply real-time learnings in either channels or any of the channels will be key for this convergence of digital and physical. The fifth one is socialization and two-way communication, and this should be branded in customer messaging. And I've seen it now escalate even to a further level where some retailers reach out and ask customers, who have purchased a product in the past to answer a question of a future customer that may be purchasing the product. So this goes beyond just the surveys, just beyond the social media and the quick two-way communication. It actually goes into the customer, helping brands and retailers, product development, create services, you know, those types of things. So it goes one step beyond the simple socialization into this real communication back and forth between the brand and the shopper. Empowering the sales associate. In the past, we know that there's a deficiency in knowledge of sales associates as compared to customers. Customers are coming into stores much more understanding, knowledgeable, and empowered more so than the sales associate. So strategies certainly in 2016 is empowering those sales associates to have the same information, whether it's based on products, services, as the customer has when they're coming in the store, the shopper has when they're coming in. Proximity marketing, I think we'll see hit to a whole new level in 2016. It has to be genuine, authentic, and relevant. Those are the three key factors when developing proximity marketing. I do think we'll see a bigger play on this in 2016. Measurement of the in-store shopper journey will be critical, so really understanding the path to purchase, where the customers are going within the store, or more importantly, where they're not going. Those are exceptionally relevant for 2016. Mobile payment will begin to take a more broader adoption rate going into 2016. This has been a bit of a struggle for a lot of retailers, but I think 2016 and certainly by 2017, this will become very prominent and important. And last, certainly not least, is the rich data insights to best advantage both online and offline learnings. And, you know, having so much data that we have both on the online world as well as in the physical world, really taking those insights and advantaging from a sales and profit standpoint, learnings from those insights will be key going into 2016. So I'd love to answer any questions that any of our participants have.
So Shelley, I'll kick it off with a few and then turn it over to the audience and try and get you out of here by 11:30. So, you know, if we think about kind of Singles Day and how that might have at least, you know, changed maybe some of the cadence of the holiday shopping season, but also, you know, you've seen some interesting, you know, kind of new holidays, right, with Amazon's Prime Day and Singles Day. Maybe if you can just talk about some of these holidays that we didn't have a few years ago and, you know, maybe holidays that we don't have now that we might have in the future. If you can just elaborate on your thoughts there.
Absolutely. I do think we have to kind of rethink kind of those traditional holidays of the past, and I do think going forward there will be, you know, added holidays and events. I do think that with online, you know, the importance of the ability to quickly promote things and be more nimble in promotional strategies will have a tremendous impact on the environment. So, you know, it started a lot with the flash sales. You know, Amazon actually did, I thought, you know, really great job with promoting different products during different times, and they have a countdown clock and all that. So I think we're going to see more of that. It's a bit more challenging and difficult to implement those quick, nimble strategies in the brick and mortar environment. But I absolutely feel going into 2016, we will have more events that help shoppers really with the shopping over the year. I think it's going to be completely different and new, and I do think we're going to see a lot from online, and some of those online, you know, events somewhat applied in the physical retail environment.
And then I saw your comments regarding emerging retail trends. The second one, shoppers redefining the retail calendar and almost this informality around the dates. Okay, so Christmas is technically December 25th, but you know, if you want to make it the 27th, that's up to you. What is driving that, and why? You know, I mean, obviously it's less expensive theoretically to buy gifts on the 26th and gift them on the 27th, but can you elaborate a little bit more on your thoughts there, and how might that change, you know, the holidays in the future and how we think about gifting and, you know, celebrating, et cetera, and what that might mean for retailers?
Yeah, and again, that's really just my own kind of opinion on that. And I'll tell you where I kind of saw a snippet of that You know, when we looked at back to school, and, you know, I understand Labor Day was late this year, and that obviously played into that back to school period. But, you know, back to school in the past was a very, you know, 2 weeks prior to back to school, you know, I think a lot of consumers felt the need to get out there, purchase everything they needed, you know, so they were prepared and ready for back to school. This year, what we found is actually, you know, back to school kind of started mid-August, but it got a slow start. Could have been, you know, delayed in Labor Day, but also, you know, it went beyond Labor Day. It went into September and into October. And I think the mentality from a consumer perspective is, hey, I don't have to buy all my back to school in that 2-week period in the past where I felt this obligation to do so. And I think when I make the comment that, you know, who knows, you know, with Christmas, you know, being on a Friday and the 26th on a Saturday and the 27th is real kind of that weekend, what I'm finding is, especially with the millennial generation, is there's less formalities, it's more casual, and it's almost okay in some regard to say, okay, instead of celebrating, you know, Christmas on Friday, let's go out and buy, you know, gifts on, you know, Saturday and celebrate Sunday. I just see more of that casual, less rigid structure around, you know, holidays and, you know, just the informality of how many holidays are being approached, specifically from millennials, but I think it's kind of bleeding into other generations as well.
I thought your comments around this idea of, you know, not knowing the boundaries of, you know, kind of promotional events. So it's, you know, November became an entire promotional event. I mean, I thought it was interesting, right? It used to just be, you know, Black Friday, and then, okay, it creeped into, you know, Thanksgiving, but it's really like the entire month now. And, you know, it's like the sales know no boundaries, so it's almost not special anymore. And, you know, it's like the consumer, right, and they can now shop online, they can shop from their phone. I mean, you know, it's everywhere, and it's pervasive, and so it's also, I think it's lost meaning, and it's not special. And so those retailers, I think, right, I mean, there's this really, the winners and the losers are really becoming defined, right? Because if you're doing something really special in store, it means something. I mean, right, in New York, I mean, right, the traffic trends, I think, were stronger on Broadway, right? I mean, you know, it was really interesting, right? The haves and the have-nots were really well defined. What do you think happened this year? And I hate to actually have to ask you to predict for the future, but, you know, if you can get that crystal ball out, I mean, it's becoming more defined, and this, you know, kind of always on sale, never full price. What are the retailers doing to themselves?
Yeah, I think there's the piece of that, and if you were to ask me that last year, I would say, you know what, Deborah, you're absolutely right. It is just a free-for-all out there. I think it was so reactive last year. I think this year, what's a bit different with the promotional strategies and pricings is what I'm seeing is, I think there's really great examples, and I'm happy to share some of those examples of retailers that said, now wait a minute, let's not put the entire store on 40% off. Let's be measured in what we're doing. So, you know, a great example is Brooks Brothers, who I thought came out with a very genuine, delightful, fun, relevant, you know, promotional strategy. And they did the Days of Giving, and they took different commodities of business over, you know, I think it was a week of time, and different commodities were on sale at different points. So I think that's a very strategic, planned, you know, proactive approach with promotional pricing. I think what's happening this year is, instead of just blanket, you know, let's mark everything off, or let's have massive promotions. And, you know, with that said, I will say there's an exception on some of the seasonal commodity of goods, just because of the amount of inventory. Obviously, you appreciate that standpoint. But I think what's happening is, you know, a lot of retailers are taking certain categories of business or certain products, certain SKUs, and really deeply discounting those, but not blanketly taking discounts broadly across every single category within the store. And I think that's smart, you know, strategically. And it goes back to that value-driven dominance. You know, customers will pay, you know, X amount of dollars as long as the value is there. And the value doesn't have to be cheap. The value could be, hey, if I can't get that product anywhere else, I'm willing to pay regular price for it. Or if that product is so differentiated on the marketplace, I'm actually willing to spend more on it. So I think that value-driven dominance kind of plays into that as well.
Great. Well, it's 11:30, but we do have one question from the audience that came in, so let me ask that for them. Can you give examples of applying digital lessons to brick and mortar retail?
Oh, absolutely. So I think that what's really important is that in our past traditional retailing, we've always worked in silos where the online folks would do all kinds of data analytics of what's happening online, and they would make movements online to kind of promote or take off on trends that they're seeing. What I think needs to change is to take those learnings. So for example, if you are noticing certain searches on your online business that are all of a sudden everyone's looking for, you know, whatever product it is, and you're seeing searches go up for this particular commodity of business. Then taking that search feature, obviously customers are out there in bulk looking for this item or this types of items, and then applying that to the brick and mortar side of business. So going over to the, you know, folks of the store operations team and say, hey, online, we're seeing this grand trend of, you know, whatever this product is. You know, it might be, you know, velour pillows, for example. It's a silly example, but, and so taking that over to the brick and mortar side and say, okay, all of a sudden, you know, all these customers, what's trending right now is velour pillows. Let's, you know, really try to maximize velour pillows in the stores. Let's put it in the windows. Let's do quick signing in the stores. Let's move it up front. So you're really taking advantage of trends more quickly than the feedback you can get in the brick and mortar environment.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Shelley. Your comments and insights were beyond expectations, and we look forward to having you on a future call. Everyone, if anyone joined late or if they need, you know, if you need the transcript, we do have a transcript for today's call. If you need the slides, we have them. Anything you need, just shoot us an email or Shelley. We're here, we're available. And thanks so much for joining us for our first ever holiday season conference call series from Fung Business Intelligence Center. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Shelley, and we look forward to having you on future calls.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Take care. Bye-bye. Happy holidays, everyone.